everyone. Today we will discuss the topic probability. Now probability, as it itself suggests, it means chances or likelihood for an event to happen or not. In our day-to-day life, we use statements such as I may go to school today or it might rain today. So they all talk about the chances, the likelihood for an event to happen. Fine. Let's say it has been raining for the past few days and now I wish to know that, okay, what are the chances that it will rain today? So probability talks about the uncertainties or certainties of an event. So we wish to find out the numerical figures of how likely will this happen or not. Fine. Now let's just take another example, a day-to-day example. So we know that, okay, the whole world is going through a pandemic, COVID pandemic. Now let's say we have a locality. And in our locality, there are 100 people. Out of those 100 people, 80 people were COVID positive, but they had no symptoms. Now we meet a person, then what are the chances that that person would have been COVID positive or not? So all this is discussed under the topic probability. In probability, we talk about experiments. Experiment of, let's say, tossing a coin. The general experiments that we talk about, or rolling a dice, and many more. So in each experiment, there could be a number of trials, a number of repetitions. Suppose we toss a coin once, or let's say many times, let's say 1,000 times. So those repetitions are called trials. Now each trial gives us an outcome. If we are tossing a coin, it's obvious that we might get a head, we might get a tail, right? So the possible outcomes in the case of tossing a coin will be a head or a tail. Let's just take another example. Suppose we have this Rubik's Cube. We can see that the faces, there are 6 faces and they are painted. So we have black, red, yellow, orange, green and blue. So if we roll a Rubik's Cube, what can be the possible outcomes? We can either have blue face, black, red, orange, green or yellow. Fine. So each trial gives us an outcome for the experiment. Next we have the term event. Event is collection of all possible outcomes. Fine. So probabilities that we are going to discuss are basically of two types. One is an experimental probability, which is based upon that how many times or how many trials have been there. The other one is theoretical probability. So first let's discuss about the empirical or experimental probability. So what does that mean? Suppose we have an event E, then the probability that that event has occurred, what is that? It is the number of trials in favor of E divided by the total number of trials. Let's take an example. Suppose we take an experiment of tossing a coin and let's say the total number of trials have been 1,000. That means we have tossed a coin 1,000 times and let's say head came up 400 times and tail came up 600 times. Then if we talk about the event that, okay, we got a head, what will be the probability? It will be the number of trials which are in favor of head, that is 400 divided by the total number of trials, that is 1,000. So what do we get? 2 by 5. So that is the probability of head coming up in this particular experiment. So this is called empirical probability, wherein we do a number of trials and then on the basis of number of trials we figure out that what will be the probability of a particular event. Now one thing that we should pay attention to is that the probability of any event is always greater than equals to 0 and less than equals to 1. That means an event, the probability will always be greater than or equal to 0, and it will always be less than or equals to 1. If the probability is 0, what does that mean? Probability of an event is 0. That means the event will not happen. That means it gives us an impossible event. And if the probability is 1, that means the maximum probability. What does that mean? That means that the event is a sure or certain event. That okay, this will happen for sure. Now we denote the probability of an event as P of E. Similarly, we denote the probability of an event not occurring as PE bar. Fine. Now probability of not E, this is read as not E. That means E is not occurring. This is equals to 1 minus the probability of the event. We can see in this example as well, if we find out the probability of tail, what will be that? The number of trials that are favorable to tail, that is 600, upon the total, that is 1000, what do we get? 3 by 5. We can see that probability of not head, what will be that? P not H, that will be 1 minus 2 by 5, that is 3 by 5, which is obviously not H, means obviously tail will occur because this is an event in which we will for sure have some or the other outcome.